Hi, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 30th of 2020, and it's so nice to see everyone in the house tonight, and especially Rudy Lago, the co-host of Rudy's Psychic Meetup. How are you doing tonight, Rudy?
Hey, Sam, doing great. Had a busy week, was doing some traveling, but got back in one piece. And excited for tonight's show. We have one topic, well, we'll break it up a little bit, but alien abductions. Now, if anyone follows the UFO space, aliens, there's a huge cottage industry around this. And so we're just going to basically scratch the surface, but we're going to continue on some of the discussion from last week of where somebody had asked about a UFO or alien abduction dream they had. So we'll see how that goes. Sam, anything you want to kick off with for tonight? I know we had September 30th. We had a debate, a lot of exciting stuff going on. So did you see anything?
Well, I haven't really had a chance to review anything yet today. It's just been nonstop. And of course, there's always good stuff coming out in the news. But to be straight with you, I've been helping someone get their last lump sum into the crypto market. So I was just praying when it was like, I was really excited when some of the stuff that she wasn't able to get until today because of limits.
Oh, yeah.
Right. They have deposit limits. And that's the hard part, right? I didn't have that issue with Gemini because I would just, wire transfer the money over and then I would buy either Bitcoin or Ethereum. And that's how I'd springboard into the Bitfinex or the Bittrex or, I've used so many different cryptocurrency exchanges. So yeah, in regards to cryptocurrencies, I'll be interested taking a look tonight to see what is out there and reviewing everything that's going on. I'm feeling very positive about the future. And I read your review for tonight, what we're going to be looking at. So I'm excited to get started.
Okay, let's jump into it. So I wanted to follow up on a question we had last meetup. And this was about someone's dream of a possible abduction. And Sam, this was from Anna Gret. And you had felt that while during the stream, she was picking this up from the ethos. It was almost like a psychic experience.
Yes.
And she did provide some more information. And it's interesting because they were in a small room and there was like this cube or computer in the middle. And they were trying to get information from her. And they were shocking her with this electric device, asking her for the names, give us the names. And she finally was in such pain and then realized that this wasn't real and came out of it. And that's when she woke up. But the interesting part is she said her body hurt for a few days after, and she did feel traumatized from that experience. So, Sam, what do you think was going on there? Was that almost an empathic response, what she was picking up on? That seems like a pretty powerful, lingering experience to take on.
Yeah, I've actually had a similar experience. It is possible to have those types of dreams and then have the aches and pains along with it days later as if it happened to you directly. And of course, that would make you think that it really happened too. Right. So, I mean, I could totally see a person coming from that direction. And that's not to say that it doesn't really happen. I mean, somebody asked me that and I was like, oh, absolutely it happens. And it's against the rules. Like they're not supposed to be doing that. Right. But, there's a lot of stuff that's against the rules. And it's like, it doesn't mean that there's not a price to pay, just like in this world when you break the rules. I mean, It's just that sometimes the outcome is delayed.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting piece of the story because one of the things with around alien abductions is people do report lingering pain and some physical symptoms. So yeah, it's just another layer that makes it hard to kind of peel out what actually happened from what was perceived or picked up. So we're going to go into an account given to us by one of our group here, and we're going to keep it anonymous. But before I go into that, this story that I was told in these accounts reminded me of a book I read a couple of years ago, and it is The Threat by David M. Jacobs. And there's a little picture of the guy right there. He's been on Coast to Coast AM. He's done the rounds on all this stuff. And, it's a little bit of a negative aspect or view of it. And, you wonder how much of this is, just part of the genre of the UFO stuff. But he does have some theories on what he's come up with. He does a lot of hypnotic regressions, and he's done over 700 of these. And his conclusions are basically drawn from those regressions that he's done, as well as some other research. So there's about 5 of them I'm going to go through, Sam, and I'll just get your take on each one. So the first one is that he's concluded that the abduction phenomena is real. It's really difficult to research because memories are notoriously unreliable, and people will confabulate real events and made up events. But there are steps that researchers take to kind of rule out these unreliable accounts. So, Sam, just would you agree with this abduction phenomenon is absolutely real, and maybe how widespread is it?
I couldn't say for sure. I think that what I'm getting for information, because as you were talking about it, I was seeing some pictures, is that there are periods of time that there are far more abductions that happen, especially in particular areas where it's like it moves around sort of thing. So maybe from 1951 to 1954, there was a big increase in UFO sightings and mysterious disappearances, animal mutilations in, Peru, let's say. And then all of a sudden, from 1972 to 1978, you have that happening, but in Alaska, like that's kind of the story that I'm getting, is that these beings, they do show up. They are scientists. Like most scientists, they behave like scientists and they're just doing their thing. It's nothing personal. They're trying not to let people know that they're doing this. They just kind of want to slip in and slip back out. But of course, I mean, they're mutilating people's animals and, like their cows, their domesticated sheep and, some bears here and there. And then they're taking people up as well and, doing experiments on them and stuff. So it's just like, well, you're kind of interfering. Oh, well, we blocked their memory. Listen, you know what? There's no perfect science. People are remembering stuff. They're getting feelings afterwards. And then you also have people who, have access to the ethos with their dreams. Right. And that was what I figured was going on with Angret, because she is, she does function at a higher level with her vibrations because she practices too, right? So, it's very easy to see how she would have access to some story in the ethos and actually sort of go through it where she's the main person. Like that can happen and you think that it's you.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. The other conclusion that he comes on to pretty quickly is that there seems to be some sort of hybrid breeding program where humans are being bred with aliens. And this comes from accounts where, people, both male and female, are abducted. Genetic material is harvested. We'll say that the nice way. And there's cases where women seem to be implanted with fetuses sometime within the first trimester. And it's interesting. He talks about some things where women will feel like almost their insides were inflated, like they making room for these fetuses. And that has been supported with, some, hysterectomies that many of these abductees have had to have, x-rays, things of that nature. But essentially, by implanting fetuses within the first trimester, but not, I guess, conceiving within the womb, they are somehow bypassing the hormonal triggers, and these pregnancies can go undetected. When people do realize that they're pregnant or think about an abortion, it appears that these fetuses are taken out by then. So, Sam, what do you think about an alien human hybrid breeding program? Does that seem plausible?
Well, the story I got is different than that story. Okay. I'll tell you the story I got is that what they were doing is taking eggs and sperm, and they were mixing them, but putting trying to put like their own DNA in. Okay. And what happened is that they were able to incubate the babies, like the cross breeding, but because these humans who are part alien are born with, I think it's because they're born with no soul, but the scientific version of it is that they just cannot replicate the chromosomes to work together. It's just not, like, I don't take that type of biology. Like, I'm not that deep into it. So I'm trying to explain the story they're showing me, because they're showing me like a cross between, and they're showing me that they've shown the women who they got the eggs from these children. But the thing is that they don't survive. That's the thing, is they were never able to get them to survive. And this was not a very common thing either. And this whole idea that there's no reptilians and there are no crossbreed aliens living amongst us. None. Zero. It's humankind only. And I hope that makes the evening less scary for.
Okay, good. It's always funny how Sam skips ahead to these other points that I have in the questions.
Oh, do you have those points? Yeah, I know. It happens. That's what got me in trouble at work so much. It happened all the time. Like, before I left, I was like, at the point, I was just like, okay, I need to make sure that I really don't talk anymore as much as possible.
But what you're being shown is in line with what, from these accounts that he's getting from the book, is that, the women are brought back, they're shown these offspring, and they're trying to get them to be nurtured. He says, like, painting some sort of material on them, they absorb nutrients through their skin, but they were finding that the hybrids couldn't survive without being touched. And I've heard that too about, humans, and maybe you're on that point about a soul, where you need that human physical contact in order to nurture and bring something, a life like that, to fruition.
Yeah, well, I would have never guessed that. I mean, I totally was relying on and I think the confirmation for me that I told the story correctly is the fact that you already knew about these women being shown the babies, and that they were showing me that picture. So what they're saying is, you're not completely off 100%, right? But here's the real story.
Okay.
And that's what they use me for, because, this guy, no doubt, has put a lot of work into hypnotizing people and putting them under, and it's fascinating, the information that they can get, but it's not 100% reliable, because you're relying on people in that state to give you the information. And it's just like you said, they confabulate stuff, imagine things. What if they're having dreams that are having empathy with other people who've actually been abducted?
Yeah.
It could be any number of things. But when I talk to the people on the other side, and the people on the other side, they are just people like us who have already passed away from the earth realm, and they hang out on the other side. And there happens to be some of us walking around on the earth realm who can talk to them. And then we hear these stories, and I can look at them and go, hey, like, I don't do woo-woo. I was doing finance for 30 years. Like, can you give me the story on this? Right. And then they show me the pictures. And then I think to myself, well, I just might be crazy instead. But then you say some stuff that confirms, because they only showed me like maybe 12 seconds of pictures.
Okay. And thanks for that confirmation, Barefoot Doc. Yeah, there's research. Babies in Victorian England would die without touch. So, be sure to hug your children, right, or your spouses or your significant others. So, Sam, that's good to hear that there's no aliens walking among us, because that's the other context of this book is, it serves some of that fear porn demand where, there's an alien breeding program and they're integrated into society. And that's kind of the angle that the book and the research takes, which is a little bit disturbing. But then again, you never know what's real and what's not.
Yeah. And that's why I really rely on the people on the other side, because, there's a lot of, fear porn circulating about a lot of different things. And all we're doing is we're just feeding the negative entities that live in between when we get sucked into this stuff. And that's what happens, is we get sucked into it. And I think that man, he meant well, because certainly if he thought that there was some sort of army of crossbreed human aliens being bred here on Earth, that, he would want to warn people and stuff. But the thing is that that's not true. And I spoke before about how sometimes people would get like information that might cover one piece of paper. Like I said, the people on the other side, they just showed me like 12 seconds of pictures.
Right.
They just showed me what I needed to know. And it was on a, maybe 5 different subject lines kind of thing. Right. Yeah, I mean, and he just turned it into like a whole novel, and it could be the people that he was putting under as well. They could have been confabulating some stuff and also confusing what they had actually gone through with what they were being fearful of going through, or what these aliens' intentions were. And they took it for real. But when in reality, it was what they were thinking when they were abducted. They were thinking about, oh, they're going to invade Earth, and this is what, you know what I mean? And so I can see, I don't want to put it on this dude's feet that he was doing anything other than trying to help humanity. It was just that unfortunately he doesn't have the ability to talk to the people on the other side for them to go, hey, you know what? Kind of close.
Well, and that's exactly it. He's, as I read this, my thought was he's looking at this from a very narrow view, from, trying to piece together reliable information from somewhat unreliable sources. So that's really good. And that's why we bring these to you to get these kinds of questions answered.
Yeah. And actually, the more we talk, the more arrive from the other side.
Okay.
I can see them now. I never used to be able to see how many were there before. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff happening to me too.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you think stuff's happening to you. Well, let me tell you, what y'all might be headed for. It's kind of cool. It's not. It's just
Yeah. The other angle around this whole phenomenon, and I don't think he goes into this in these books, but within the UFO realm, you'll hear the story of, they call them MILAB, or military abductions. And what there seems to suggest that this whole genre of, they are the government, or some aspect of the secret part of the government, knows these abductions are happening. And after someone is abducted, they know that aliens have been in the space. They will then use stolen secret technology to go and abduct those people again, but it's from the military aspect, and trying to figure out what the aliens did to them. Sam, do you see any truth to the military abductions happening? Any sort of secret part of the government re-abducting people?
No, but I can see a couple of one-offs, and that would have been the stuff that, made the news, and the person, do you know what I mean? And then they would go in and, suggest that this person go in for, and then they end up keeping them for longer than they want to be there. But, eventually they do return them, etc. But these are one-offs. This is not that they have this whole cleanup crew. It just, you know what? The government is just not, back then, especially, they're just not that advanced as far as that kind of stuff goes. They're getting advanced in their weapons though, which is really interesting.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to go into an experience from somebody in our group, and I do want to keep this person's information anonymous, so I've kind of anonymized the story a bit. But Sam, the interesting part before we get into the account was this person, as they were preparing to type up the story and send it, they heard aloud, "Do not send," as they were at their keyboard, like getting this information that they shouldn't send it. But they did think that, in the future, that as your gift becomes stronger and people start to look back at your predictions, especially about, we've mentioned in other live streams about, the future battle or alien invasion, things around UFOs, Trump's UFO disclosures, that your stuff will be taken more seriously. So they did want to get this information out there. But Sam, what do you think about that? Someone getting a no, don't publish this information. Where do you think that feeling comes from?
You had that in the email when you were telling me about the story tonight. And I was hoping that I would get some information on where that came from. And I'm thinking that it's maybe an earthbound person.
Okay.
I wonder if I told them that there was an earthbound, because there's a few people in our crew. I mean, this is not an uncommon thing to have an earthbound person around sometimes in your space. And that would be an explanation for hearing that,
Yeah, sometimes, with this phenomenon is there's a theory that these abductions are stored in your long-term memory, but erased from your short term because there's some need to access it. But there's somehow a sort of mind control in there where if you try to bring things up or look at it, you kind of shut down. So I was wondering if that was maybe an aspect of it, or if they were getting that from the other side.
No, I'm definitely thinking that it's something lower
Okay.
vibrational that they're getting that from. It's not anything or anyone who is our friend or even knows better. If it's an earthbound person, that's just somebody who's died but not crossed over yet, so they're just kind of wandering around a bit. Nothing bad is happening to them. They're just here, but not. They're dead, but they just haven't gone over, and they're just not themselves yet. They're still a remnant of like what they were when they were here before they died, and maybe that person was a very negative person or a worrywart or something and knew what he was doing and then couldn't help but throw their 2 cents in.
Okay. Well, let's go into the account and I'll read through it and see what you get on what actually happened, Sam. So this person was young. It was probably the summer between their 3rd and 4th grade. And this was like the mid 60s in a small suburb in Oregon outside of a big city. They shared a bedroom with a younger brother, and one night they woke up and saw a gray alien standing in the bedroom doorway. And they thought, "What's that?" And they got out of bed and started walking towards it. There was no fear, but the memory fades after taking that first step, and they can't recall any other thoughts or feelings. But the next morning they woke up feeling uneasy and having anxiety about what happened, and wanting to run and tell mom what happened. But like, what do you tell her? You don't know what happened. And then the parent says, "Well, you just had a dream." So they didn't say anything to anyone and thought it was spent the day thinking it was a bad dream. And again, this is a very common aspect if you read any about alien abductions. So the interesting part is next night the same thing happened. They woke up and saw the same gray alien standing in the doorway. But this time in their head, they got this thought like, go back to sleep. And they knew that they wanted the person's brother. And they said, "Okay, good, it's not me." And they went back to sleep, but also kind of felt sad and helpless that they couldn't do anything for the brother. And the next morning, when the brother woke up, he looked at him and said, "Did you see that last night?" And they said, "Yeah." And then they didn't say anything and didn't talk about it. So, Sam, what do you think went on these 2 nights when this person saw those gray aliens?
Well, that was your typical abduction case. And, it was in more of a suburban area as well.
Yeah.
So, I believe that did indeed happen. And they were just examining and looking for, siblings. And this was all, and since they're the gray ones, the scientists, this probably had a lot to do with their study of how humans grow, because here they had 2 brothers who were only like 2 years apart. We could do some estimates on that and look at genetics and get samples and then just return them back to their beds. And I was going to say, this sort of the medicine that they give them that gives them this amnesia, it's not really any different than the anesthesia we get when we're put under. I mean, you don't remember what's going on when you are put under. They're cutting you open and sewing stuff up or taking things out or whatever, right? I mean, fixing things up. You are oblivious and frozen up, and it's and then you just wake up and all that you remember is before they put the mask on. So this is very typical, because they'll remember, they can't erase the memory from before, but they can only erase once they are, getting because you probably go into that trance. You probably stop remembering, like 10 seconds before you go into that trance. So, yeah.
Very interesting.
That's how they get away with it.
And thanks, Winter, on the side for confirming you also felt the same thing, that this was a standard abduction. So here's the interesting part of this encounter is the confirmations that came later on. So fast forward 25 years or so, and during this person's visit home, they somehow got on the topic of UFOs with this person's mother. And she told them a story of when they lived back in Oregon. And one night she heard this humming noise outside. So she went outside on the brick patio, and there was a UFO right over their house. She stood there in disbelief, and then it just zoomed off. And the same thing happened the next night. She said she didn't say anything to anybody because, who's going to believe her, right? Well, the reason she told this person the story is because they had run into a friend of this person's back from childhood. And this person told the mother, hey, you know what I remember about when we lived in Oregon is that one night I saw a UFO over your house. And I'll never forget that. Never seen one since, but I'll never forget that. So I thought that was really interesting that there were two confirmations from both the mother and a childhood friend that this actually happened. So, yeah. All right.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. So hopefully you're out there listening. This is a good confirmation. And so here's the other thing that is a little disturbing, but it's very common within these abduction scenarios is, about 7 years ago when this person's son was in the 4th grade, he asked him if he believed in aliens. And he said he did, as the universe is just too big for us to be the only ones out there. And then they said, he thinks the child said he thought he saw an alien in his bedroom. And this person had a feeling that he knew what it was about, but he played it down, just, his normal childhood fears, and insisted that everything, is fine, but still checked under the bed in the closet for a couple weeks. So, Sam, I mean, do you see this as being generational, one of those things where they tend to follow families and genetic lines?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do that in our own scientific studies.
Okay.
We follow genetic lines. They're actually doing a test. I'm part of a group here where they send us stuff to fill out like every 10 years.
Okay.
And so they're doing a study on sort of like our environment and our gene pool.
Interesting. Yeah, because that's the common thing is, why me? Well, there's nothing special about me. I'm not a professional athlete, but you're a sample, right?
Yeah, well, they're just trying to figure out, diseases and what the causes are. And, and you do that by doing a large sampling of a population, for example. But in the case of these gray aliens who were looking at even trying to reproduce a human alien hybrid, they were scientists. So they're doing many of the same things that our scientists would do, if they had access to aliens and they could slip in and slip out. I mean, why not follow them generationally as well? That would make more sense, especially if they're getting samples and things like that and are looking at, okay, and this young boy ended up combining his DNA with an unknown, and let's see what the split is, because we know what his end of it is, right? And so they're just being scientific, and it just, it annoys me, of course, because it's against the rules. Like, you're just not supposed to do that kind of stuff in the order of things. But, again, that's one of the hazards of the situation we're in on the Earth realm.
Well, cool. Yeah, there's so many great accounts, and you can go into so many caveats. There's in the stories, there's people that come back, they have different clothes on, or their clothes are on backwards. So that all ties in with what you're saying. So, Sam, really appreciate your take on this sensitive and out there topic, but it's good to get the real story and see what's going on, because the human mind will insert all kinds of interesting things there. So we appreciate your perspective. All right, well, let's get into the questions then. Looks like we have about 21 questions, and we'll start off with William Penn. Did Jesus have the power to heal, or was it a person's faith that caused self-healing?
I would say it's both, because I think that the way that it works is where Jesus had access to the ethos, he was able to sort of get to them through the ethos, but the actual healing action, it comes within your own body. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like he touches, but it's your body that does the healing. So this is why I believe this can be done like through video or phone, right? That if the person who has this ability just concentrates on, it, or even if it's just brought to their attention, right? They should be able to get rid of it. So yeah, that's how I think that worked.
Jellybean writes, "Hi, Sam and Rudy. A few people I listen to have mentioned that something big will happen on this winter solstice, December 21st, summer for those that are in the in Australia, or south of the hemisphere. Do you think anything significant on that day will happen? Thank you both, Jelly Bean.
Only a good thing on December the 21st.
All right. William Penn has another question. Are there different classifications of angels? So ranks, specialties.
I don't really know too much about the angel end of things, but I do believe that there are the smaller angels like the cherubs
Oh, okay.
and the seraphim, and there's the angels who take human form,
Uh-huh.
like who would resemble more like a grown adult with wings.
Okay. Oh,
Those are, yeah. Well, that's how they would appear to us, but really they're just, really bright lights, but you can see the wings.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, there are different types of angels, but I mean, I really don't know much about them, just that, they escort us down here and then they escort us back, just because, again, you need protection going through the in between, like where we cross over to get to the other side. There's the in between, and you can't go there by yourself. Like, I can't go when I cross over to get information. I can't go there without my spirit guides protecting me. It's just not possible.
Cool. Maybe that'll be a future topic. I would like to know more about what the cherubs do versus the other ones. So maybe I'll go find some biblical research on angels. All right. CryptoPan says, "Hi, Sam and Rudy. I would like your opinion on the Great Awakening. It seems that nobody will ascend. It seems that not everybody will ascend. I am assuming that the changes will take place on this planet. What happens to those who do not ascend? Does everyone have a choice? Will our future riches be of use to us when we reach the dimension? I feel confused."
So, do you know what I think I know what they mean when they're saying ascension. So are they talking like the rapture type of deal, but it's here on Earth where the vibration's higher, and for, I don't know, these other people just disappear and aren't in
Yeah.
like the better world? Yeah, no, that's not true.
Okay. There's like a book called The Celestine Prophecy where they kind of talk about that, where your vibration changes and then suddenly people disappear. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the root race people who are going to have the higher vibrations and be able to speak to the people on the other side and get information to help the rest of humanity, and the rest of the world will be awakened because they will accept it and they will benefit from it greatly. The increase in the vibrations on the planet that are going to cause this great awakening with everybody, and also help a smaller group, but a much larger percentage than ever before, come to a higher level of abilities across the board, right? And be able to help the rest of mankind with decisions, important decisions, natural disasters that are coming. What if you can predict them?
Yeah.
You can save people's lives, and then people don't feel so vulnerable and full of anxiety. If you live in LA and you could get the call 3 days ahead of time that there was going to be a 5.5 in Oakland, don't be in Oakland. You could be a dead duck, right? Get out of Oakland. You got 3 days, and then it happens. What if that sort of stuff, what if people are able to do that? Not, you don't need everybody doing it. You just need a few people who consistently hit it on the mark so people listen to them.
Yeah. I almost think of it as also, as you sort of raise your vibration, your interests change, and you start becoming accepting of these things, people that don't or won't change are not going to want to have much to do with you. And to that extent, your circle of friends might change. And it's not that people disappear. It's just who you spend your time with and who you interact with probably changes more than anything.
Yeah, I agree. And that's probably just the misunderstanding that people had, and they turned it into something that actually sounds, like I said, upsetting. It would be upsetting if it was real. So I hope that the person who asked that question, that this is, lifting their anxiety and their sadness, and is making them more excited that, yes, they're going to achieve more information, knowings, and the people around them are not going to disappear. And some of them might even, because the worldwide vibration is increasing, there are some of them who will all of a sudden wake up one day. It'll be like that.
Okay.
So, and it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is from Raymond. Hi, Sam and Rudy. Have you ever heard of the Cozy Rev mirrors? It's a large concave mirror that was invented in Russia. People use it to meditate, see visions, and the future. Is it effective, or is it a tool that is used to gain confidence and aid someone, like crystals, colors, or incense? Are psychic abilities more effective in the polar regions?
I don't know about regions and if that makes psychic abilities more susceptible. I couldn't answer that one. I know that sometimes people use things as a tool, and that's fine. I mean, when I was reading the book, my passport says clairvoyant. He used to use a wire. And I mean, the guy was a straight up medium, honest guy. He wasn't playing with familiar spirits, nothing. He just wanted to help people, and he wasn't, that type of person. So I'm like, okay, if he's using a wire to help him find stuff, I understand that sometimes people might use a mirror or something. It's the only time you get into trouble is that if you don't have the abilities and you're trying to conjure, then you're attracting all of these things from the in between. And remember, like a lot of them, they really hate you, right? So, if you're going to play with that, and of course, they're not going to be like straight up front with you. They might even do a few cool things, maybe a few things to make you even feel powerful, right? Because when you can do things like that, some people, it makes them feel powerful, and that's why they want it. And, they're not thinking about all the people they can help. They're thinking about going to the casino.
Well, yeah, and I've even seen on like those ghost hunter shows where people will kind of get into a trance and look into a mirror and then kind of see the world change around them, and that it sounded similar with this Cozy Rev mirror, but it almost feels like in some ways, if you're trying to get something, like you said, it could be a tool of divination, and you may not want to trust it.
Right. Like I could probably do that if it would give me focus or something like that. Like I wouldn't be against doing that, but I wouldn't recommend that somebody who's not a working medium to do stuff like that and start playing with it. I mean, I wouldn't touch a Ouija board, but I would do that because I don't think it's the same thing. I'm not looking to speak to spirits in between. I'm looking to focus and find focus. And, I already know that I can talk to the people on the other side, and I don't need a board to do it. And of course, the Ouija board is something that people use, and you need at least two people, right? So that tells you right there that now you have two human spirits. Now you can start doing stuff, right? But the problem is that, you don't have the protection. So you might get, some old lady who's crossed over, who's just coming back. Oh, that used to be her house. Okay, she's there. She's harmless. But then you get like some demonic entity that's been, lurking in the neighborhood for years, who sees this as an opportunity. Whereas someone like myself, I would know not to play with that because I'm like, well, I'm always attracting the negative entities. Like they see me coming miles away just because of it's just one of my just one of the cons of the job, right? There's the pros and cons of being a medium. So yeah, I know a lot of people listen to this on podcasts because they're interested in the woo-woo, and they do different things, to kind of play with the woo-woo. So I just wanted to clarify that, looking in the mirror and doing a trance to have a focus and maybe see some things is okay, but no Ouija boards.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe that's where the old classic crystal ball comes into play, where psychics would. But that could help you focus on something and have something there in the room. So
yeah, it's something that you're focusing on and you're not really looking, because a lot of times when I'm in the blab, as we put it, you notice that I'm not really looking at anything.
Sometimes you look up and here you can see when you watch your movie. Sometimes you look up to the right or the left, right? All right. William Penn says, "Are there beings from other worlds that have incarnated in the Earth realm as mystic travelers? Are there aliens that live among us?"
No, because I wouldn't qualify the people who came here for the Great Awakening, right? I wouldn't call us aliens, right?
Okay.
We're human spirits, just like everybody else. It's just that I think the people who are here for the Great Awakening, they had already sort of done their time on the Earth realm and were off to other places, which is why they came, because when you hear that Earth is in trouble, I mean, you move your bottom to help, you volunteer, because the Great Awakening, right? And who wants to miss that anyways? I mean, if you like to be like in the middle of things, right? Like you're one of those, tornado what do they call them? Storm chasers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just call me a storm chaser. Oh, here it comes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sirens.
Yeah.
So do humans from the future time travel to the past to change events? And is time travel even possible?
No, it's not possible.
All right.
I know. I just disappointed so many people. I'm the no lady sometimes. I'm sorry. I ruin it. I'm ruining all your fun.
But there's some great time traveler stories out there. There's the one I forget. There's these weird pictures of people that are out of place in time. That stuff kind of persists throughout the internet. So it's a good yarn.
Mm.
All right. Dale says, "I had an unusually bad dream recently where I was being attacked by strange animals with very sharp teeth, taking bites on my back. I woke up yelling and swinging my arms. Were these dark entities attacking for some reason? Thank you."
Oh, yeah. There's a pretty good chance, especially if you're getting any experiences that you consider highly intuitive or psychic experiences. I've noticed that a lot of people have been reporting to me that if they used to get them before, they're getting them more than ever now. And if they never got them before, they're now getting them. That's sort of two stories I'm getting from a number of different people. So, and also that's the other thing that's happening is, and I was telling somebody today, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm even dreaming now. Now it's 24/7.
So Detron says, "Is karma real or is it the law of attraction?"
I think that they misunderstood karma because people say things like, oh, karma's going to get you. And I say to people, well, that would be along the lines of getting what you deserve. And if everybody got what they deserved, it would be a very different world. So I think that the word karma is used wrong. When Dolores Cannon, I believe, is talking about what she was told by all the people that she had put under where they got her because she would hypnotize people, and that's how she ended up getting in contact with people from the past who told her the story of things and about the Great Awakening. And she was talking about karma, and I get a lot of questions about that. So I'll explain it the best I can, that when you live your life here, there are things that you may not be able to work out or that you will fail in. You might have a great business mind, but like suck in your personal relationships, or maybe you just worked all the time and you didn't spend enough time with your family, or maybe you spent too much time lollygagging around and doing nothing, right, instead of working hard. Whatever the situation was, when you get to the end of your life, it's like, well, if I could change something. So what happens when you come back the next time is that these are things that become focal points for you to achieve, because the other things you figured out. So then you get your new cards dealt to you. You can come back like as a different gender, a different color, a different culture, a different part of the world, and definitely definitely a different economic situation.
Yeah.
You know, you get a mix of it, and then you have to try to work out what it was that you didn't really do the best, that you didn't get a 10 out of 10, you know, your weak points from the last time you were here. And then that's how you achieve, you know, move up the levels, I guess, so to speak, as a spiritual being, and that you don't stay at the same level. You grow as a spiritual being. So that's what karma is. And I don't know how it morphed into this, you know, the universe is going to get even with you, you evil asshole, right?
People want justice, so it helps them think of
Yeah.
you're right. That term really does mean, you know, justice or get what you deserve. Yeah. Okay, great. Big Bad Burly Bob says, I am skeptical about what we have been told, that the Colorado River alone has created the Grand Canyon over millennia. Would you peer into the ethos for any information? Thanks.
Well, I think that it was also formed by the continental movement as well.
Was it Cliff High that has out there something about a lightning strike or some sort of large electrical discharge being part of that too? So I don't know, Sam, if you get anything on any other sort of cataclysmic event that maybe helped dig that trench too, or is it really just movement and water?
Movement and water.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Raymond says, if angels in the next world decide that they were not going to ensoul a world, would it die? Would the people with existing souls lose their lives? Has that ever happened? Would they do it to end a violent world or change, like ending the reign of the dinosaurs to provide room for mammals? Thanks. So,
that's a really great question, and it's interesting to know because I had never thought about that before.
yeah.
I never thought about the answer or anything, and that's what I love about these questions. And the information I immediately picked up on was that the angels don't have any say.
Oh,
Yeah, they don't get to decide anything. They're just like, you know how you start your car in the morning, right? You know how you turn the steering wheel? Well, angels, they do what they're supposed to do for mankind. They don't have an opinion, or they can't decide that nope, that's it. This is BS. I'm not taking any more souls down to earth. They just, it's just, bad century after the bad century. Things got better after the Dark Ages, and we had some hope for the Renaissance, but yeah, we're just right back in the quagmire again. We're just not doing it. Yeah, that would never happen.
Well, Sam, that makes me think back to the alien question. So an alien hybrid obviously sounds like it can't be born with a soul because of maybe the genetics. Is our human DNA genetics really tied to our ability to house a soul, to connect with that soul on the other side?
Yeah, well, that's where my ability to talk to people on the other side, it is traceable through our DNA. So this totally makes sense when you put it all together. I mean, I didn't think about it when I was answering the questions because I was just looking at the people and I was like, hey guys, like, answer this one. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, then. That doesn't sound too crazy. I'll tell them.
Yeah. All right.
If it sounds too crazy, I'm like, yeah, I got nothing. Because I know I'm not getting the right pictures. I know I'm not translating it right. Whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, I can't get that one. Sorry, we'll try that again. Kind of like when you if anyone's ever played Pictionary and there's one that you just can't get. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
Cotton candy, cotton candy. You can't get that one.
It is a tough one. Yeah. All right. We got about 5 questions left. So Marty writes, hi, guys. After watching Psychic Nerds, I really wanted to say I'm going to kick your ass to Darkman and I wanted to see what would happen. I said it today, and immediately I felt a tickle on my nose and then felt more happier about the future rather than anxious. The tickle was on the left side of my nose as soon as I said it. I giggled and felt much happier. Why did I feel this tickle? And why did I feel much happier after that? Thank you.
Oh, that was probably like your grandmother or someone like that stepping in. No, you don't want to see Dark Man. We're going to send him away.
They watch Bewitched.
You don't, man. I moved out like within a very short period of time of seeing Dark Man. I was like, oh, that's just anyways, I don't even want to talk about it.
Well, your attitude as well, because when you take control and you put fear to the side and say, no, I'm going to kick your ass, the fear goes away, and that is a big change in your perspective too. I've noticed that when you're not afraid of things, that they tend not to want anything to do with you.
Yeah, I guess I don't take the, kick your butt direction from it, but that's just the feminine in me. That's definitely a very much a masculine thing to do, and that's something that my son would say. But as a female, and just my personality, I make fun.
Yeah.
I make fun, of them. So, just like, yeah, I make fun. It's, so they're not getting the reaction I think that they were hoping to get.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Drill and Phil says, different cultures have different versions of heaven realms. Do those heavens exist, and do each of them coincide with specific frequencies, and the entrances is only unlocked when your own is matched? Interesting. So your perspective of the afterworld, whether you're a Viking or a Buddhist or something else, takes you to that door of heaven. Like you said, religion helps you cross to the other side, right? That's kind of your path there. Yeah. So what do you think? It's the religion just gives you that framework to get over to the other side?
Oh, no, the religion is just for here.
Okay.
Right? Because your walk is through life. Just like you're crossing the river, we use the boat analogy. The religion is just the boat. Okay. And so you're walking through, you're trying to survive here on the earth realm and having a set of beliefs and values, which usually when it's through religion, then it's very automatic and it's set in writing. Whereas if you don't follow a specific religion, you still create, rules and values, like a belief system for your life. And you find another person who has, when I met someone, I wanted to make sure that they weren't like a super religious person, but I have no problems with religion. And I have friends who are, I know people who are regular churchgoers and stuff like that. I have a lot of respect for people who stay consistent with something, and I completely understand that. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't go to a church in particular, like a spiritual church or something, if I was to go to a new community and want to make connections, because I see it more as a community thing, than it's, because we as humans will put together our own belief and value system anyways.
Okay. Yeah. So Drill and Phil, the way I think about it, if you were a Viking, you would not go to Valhalla and dine with all the, the gods. But if in your mind, once you crossed over, you wanted to do that, you could certainly create that, because when you're on the other side, you can create whatever you want. So, yeah, that's really way to think about it. All right. Cat Lady AZ writes, is the Majestic 12 real? And that's the people in the government that have studied the UFO or involved in the UFO research. Have people been genetically groomed for space travel? And do we have spaceships or bases on the moon?
No, we do not. But we do have, they're working with like replicas here, like on Earth. So there's none on the moon. Okay. But they are working on stuff. Nothing current that they can show off, but soon.
Okay. So there's no secret society on Mars or secret race of people that are out there. Okay.
Nothing like that.
That is one of those subsets of the UFO thing.
I know. I'm the no lady and I'm the boring lady.
We got some good UFO answers tonight, or abduction answers. Richard Carlson says, hi, is it true that we live in a multi-universe? There are many versions of your life because every universe is different.
No, none of that is true.
Okay. And yeah, Sam, that does it for September. We had 3 this month, and that'll bring us into October.
So thanks again so much for hanging out, you guys. Bye for now.